This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Podcast. These are 14 of the stories that we're following today, and thank you for listening. First, there's a great story in Yahoo Finance about more people than ever want to retire in their early 60s. And the take-home point in the article is that essentially the author says that's going to be very difficult for most people to do. There's another article, there's our second story today, Benzinga, and then we'll get to some of the inflation news and the good news in the markets in a second. There's a story in Benzinga that Warren Buffett is both a great investor and a great marketer. A well-done piece in Benzinga about how well Warren Buffett has done in also crafting his image and not just investing. He's done a great job of investing, too. Third, Tesla's cutting more jobs in California. Again, not a surprise, but they continue to try and move their nexus away from California to Texas and other low-tax states. Fourth, the markets are now heading up today after they were after they were flat this morning. The Nasdaq's hit a new record high. The good news is inflation slowed a little bit over the last 3 months. It still is quite elevated, but slowed some. The fifth story we're following today, and maybe this is the story that the apocalypse is upon us. New York Community Bank, NYCB, is selling $5 billion in loans to JP Morgan Chase. We assume that they're not selling their worst loans, that JP Morgan's not going to buy their worst loans. And essentially, this is really another sign that New York Community Bank is in trouble, that they're having to balance some of their portfolio to JP Morgan. Hopefully this works out well to Chase JP Morgan. Sixth, oil's right around $78 a barrel, Bitcoin around 63,000. Cannabis stocks have also been on a run. Seventh, there's constant discussion in D.C. about tariffs. From my perspective, tariffs are a horrible idea from both the right and the left and the anti-inflation. They're ultimately politically a sop to unions and labor, but we think they're generally a bad idea, and trade wars are generally a bad idea. Eighth, and also bad for inflation. Eighth, China appears to still be weighing what they're going to do in response to our new tariffs. Again, insanity, quite frankly. Yahoo Finance reports on this a lot today. Ninth, I had the great pleasure of having Nancy Temple interview me for the Becker Private Equity Podcast. We talked about business theories and thoughts about why I have animosity towards the University of Michigan athletics, even though daughter and stepdaughter went to the University of Michigan. But we talked about those things. 10th, great to give a keynote speech at BOMA International yesterday. The two keynote speakers yesterday were one, Drew Brees, a remarkable athlete, and second, Scott Becker, a comparatively awful athlete. I would have chose to listen to Drew Brees. People did come to listen to me as well. We were two different times, of course. 11th, the markets point up on good inflation data. 12th, we're looking forward to a blockbuster Becker's Health IT, Digital Health, and RCM conference this fall. Great keynote speakers and great agenda, and back to the Hyatt Regency, which we're thrilled about. 13th, an absolute pleasure to interview Kelly Blair, CEO of Nimble Solutions, and Jim Fuchs of Nimble Solutions as well. Both just fantastic on the Becker's Healthcare podcast this week. And finally, 14th, I had the chance to visit with Lucas Rexio, a CPA of VMG Health. He knocked it out of the park on the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. God bless Lucas, as well as Greg Koonsman and Jen Johnson. What a terrific team of leaders at VMG Health. Thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. We'll be back with you shortly. Thank you.